circuitous route, which you will hear. I just spoke without, Matthew told me to take notes, which I took seriously, because if I just talk, I will follow the Silk Road and be gone, and I'll talk and talk forever, because it's a very circuitous route that I took, and I'm still taking, and I think I've always been on it. So I wrote a few things, and I'll try and sum up for you how I got to do what I'm doing. So I have a company called Cardamom Tuesday, and we make elixirs, which are cordial syrups. They're cocktail mixers. And yes. Yeah, they're cardamom-based cocktail mixers, and they all have spices of the Silk Road. And I'll tell you more about them, but we've been in business about 2.5 years now. So anyway, I'll just read a little and see where that goes. Elixirs, cordials, aperitif, digestif, bitters, spirits. Tiny bottles that conjure apothecaries, alchemy, and traveling medicine shows. Prohibition, speakeasies, traveling spice merchants, Silk Road, camels, and cardamom. I grew up fascinated with the swirling magical world that I learned to call anthropology, and I got my degree from UCSC in anthropology in the late 80s. I guess I'm dating myself, but there you go. After that, I spent 2 years traveling in Asia by myself, and the Pacific Islands. And during that time, I was thinking that the exotic became familiar. I fell in love with the world in dance and color and scent and perspectives and, of course, in taste. So some of the things I did during that time that led to today. During those years, I rode camels in Rajasthan. I studied dance in Indonesia, organic farming in Fiji and New Zealand, and I ran a Thai restaurant in Australia. I taught yoga in Nepal, which was weird, and learned massage in Thailand. I ate with families off street carts and off street carts as much as possible, even though everyone told me not to. I learned to cook with everyone who would let me in their kitchen, and I wandered spice markets, soaking in everything as I would continue to do around the world wherever I went after that. So I returned to the US in the mid-90s, and at that time, farmers markets hadn't really happened here yet. Although organic farming had, I'd worked in the Homeless Garden Project during their first couple of years here in Santa Cruz. And we ripped up our lawn and grew organic vegetables back then in our communal West Side home back in the 80s. But organic food wasn't really a thing. You couldn't go to Costco and get organic anything. And farm to table was still years away. During that, when I left, I was studying Michael Tierra's herbal correspondence course by paper and mail. But when I came back, things had changed. So people were hungry to learn about Ayurveda, about yoga, about massage. So I grew echinacea, I searched for shatavari with no Google, and made medicinal brews in tiny brown bottles for anyone who asked. So needless to say, I had not discovered cocktails yet. So I came back to Santa Cruz in 2008, and during that time, I had discovered the world of craft cocktails. So now the farm-to-table movement was full on, and the cocktail world, though, especially here in Santa Cruz, hadn't really caught on to it yet. So it was a food thing, it wasn't a drink thing, and I found it really frustrating. So I started making my own. People liked them and started coming into my kitchen for cocktails, which was fun. And bottles started appearing everywhere with different things inside, soaking and mixing and shaking and waiting and turning all kinds of colors. I tried persimmons, by the way, the squishy ones that are all in season right now, and they don't lose that chalkiness. I'm still working on it. I want a persimmon elixir, but anyway. So I'll just skip through a few things and tell you that it's been 2.5 years now, and what makes the elixirs different, I think, is that a couple of things. One is that they're made from raw spices. So I make the elixirs from whole food spices, from handfuls of cardamom that I buy in big bags from the spice merchants in the East Bay. So I go and haggle with them in the Arab markets and the Indian markets, and I love it. And they look at me like I'm insane walking out 50 pounds of cardamom. but I love it. And so it's kind of like traveling without having to go far away. So I make my elixirs with cardamom, saffron, the most expensive spice in the world, star anise, and other things that you might know from chai or ras malai, Indian food. Anyway, people consider them rare. They consider them unusual, and a lot of people, I learned, had never even tasted cardamom, and that blew my mind. So the first one I made is called Genuine Original Silk Road Elixir, which is a cardamom, saffron, rosewater cordial syrup that makes a fabulous cocktail when mixed with a good craft distilled gin. But it also makes good sparklers and a hot milk steamer and ice cream syrup. So why did I do it? People liked it and I was having a great time. And that was really actually important to me when I was thinking about what I wanted to do. It was very important to me that I enjoyed what I was doing, and also that the people that I interacted with were finding pleasure in it. They were happy. And I really wanted that when I was thinking, what form will this business take? So you can wholesale to distributors, but I like interacting with people, so that was something that I thought about as I was putting the company together. So in the very beginning, I poured at most First Fridays for about a year, and anywhere that people let me pour. I was remembering the first time this woman ran up to my booth. It was a wine tasting event downtown Santa Cruz a couple of years ago. And this woman ran up to my booth, and she was so excited to meet me. And I was the Cardamom Tuesday woman, and she was thrilled, and I could not believe it. I had fans. It was awesome. So it turned out that Cardamom Tuesday was developing this fan base of cardamom lovers, of craft cocktail aficionados, of lovers of fresh and local, who had reached the same conclusion that I did, that finishing a lovely dinner with fresh local fish and farm bounty with a cocktail of corn syrup and artificial flavoring with manufactured spirits was not very appealing. Like me, they were searching for a perfect finish, a drink made from real ingredients, crafted locally by someone passionate about food and inspired by the flavors of the world. Cardamom Tuesday is a family business. It's a company. I'm the president. My husband there is the secretary. And my teenage daughter is, she's great with people. She pours sparklers at events. And she talked to a TV crew recently. It's great for her. She has a blast doing it. My husband is the secretary. He also does the labels, and he does Sherpa duty, hauling the giant boxes and tables to all our events. I can usually be found stirring giant vats of boiling elixir, searching out new sources of ingredients, designing our labels, or new recipes, attending conferences on craft cocktails, and the hardest job, doing R&D with my friends. I also might be meeting with new buyers, delivering products, pouring at Anthropology, which is one of the highlights for me so far, and also Bonnie Doon Art and Wine, which is the last. And I'll be pouring at our next event at Assembly, which is November. Yeah. So I hope you'll be there. So I have a couple things to conclude with, but the thing that I think I felt most strongly when I was thinking about this idea of communicating what inspires me, because my road has been kind of a silk road, and that's part of how the Genuine Original Silk Road Elixir came to be, because my path has always been circuitous, and I've always kind of followed my dreams and kind of went where they let me go, and I realized that I don't always go where I plan to be going, but I usually like where I end up. So here's a couple things. Here's two things that I did not know when I got started. I had never been inside of a commercial kitchen, and I had no idea how to figure out a use-by date or barcodes. Here's a few things that I did know. I knew that I put cardamom in everything, and I love to give people a taste of the world. I knew that I had experience running businesses, both in Australia and in LA. I knew whenever people tried my elixirs, they loved them, almost always. They got excited, and that made me excited. And also, no one else was doing it. And that was really exciting for me. I think maybe there are a couple people doing it now, but There was nobody doing it. There was no cocktail mixers. There was no handcrafted original mixers. There was nothing by hand. And still, even now, if you look on the shelves, it's even vanilla flavoring and this flavoring. And even if there are natural flavorings, they're flavorings as opposed to like handfuls of raw spices. And it's that visceral experience for me that's like the art of it. They all distill differently into the pot. Put in some first, and they take a little longer, and they have to steep over a long period. And some of them turn bitter if you leave them in too long. So saffron, saffron is very delicate to work with. And you put it in, and it's powerful and strong, and it turns everything golden, but you have to take it out. So anyway, it's really wonderful doing something like that with raw spices by hand, and I didn't see it being done. So that's my circuitous route down the Silk Road. And I have a little closing quote, too. And it's funny the way things happen. This is my favorite quote and kind of my guiding principle of Cardamom Tuesday. And oddly enough, it comes from a book which has just been released in the theaters as a movie. It's from Tracks by Robin Davidson. And I read this book a long time ago when I was traveling through Australia and that part of the world. And she had just come from traveling through the country on camels. And so she said, camel journeys never end, they only change form. Thank you.